There is a kind of strength that makes no noise. It does not shout to be noticed. It waits, steady as a mountain, unseen but unshakable. Most people chase after the loudest voice, but the wisest path is often found in silence. Pause. Take a breath. Feel how the world around you continues, yet something inside you becomes still. This is where the real training begins. In this talk, I will take you beyond the surface of self-improvement. We will explore the discipline of focusing on your own path when the world pulls you in every direction. You will see why, in 2025, silence is not withdrawal. It is strategy. I will show you how to guard your energy, protect your attention, and use the space between words as a tool for mastery. From the hidden routines of Shaolin training to the unspoken rules that monks follow in daily life, you will discover lessons rarely shared outside the temple walls. These are not ideas for the mind only, they are practices for your entire life. They will change the way you act, the way you respond, and the way you walk through chaos without letting it touch you. Stay until the end, because the last principle I will share is one that even many martial artists overlook, a key to unlocking stability that no one can take from you. You are here because part of you is ready to rise above the noise. That is where our journey begins. Welcome to Shaolin Mind. If these teachings speak to you, support this path, subscribe and walk with us as we train not for applause, but for presence. There is a silence that is not empty but full of strength, awareness and hidden life. Many believe that to be silent is to hold nothing, to be passive. They are wrong. Silence can carry more weight than 1,000 words. When I was a young student in the monastery, there was an elder who rarely spoke. Weeks would pass, and not a single sentence left his lips. Yet when he walked into a room, everyone straightened their backs. His presence was felt more than the sound of any voice. I once asked him why he kept so quiet. He said, "Each word is like a drop from the vessel of your energy. If you do not guard it, you will soon find yourself empty." In our daily lives, noise comes from many directions. Arguments that do not need to be fought, gossip that serves no purpose, endless opinions that tug at your mind. Every time you answer them, a part of your strength leaks away. But when you choose silence, you place a shield around yourself. You conserve what is vital. This does not mean you hide or run away. It means you act only when the action is necessary and speak only when the words will bring value. Like a martial artist who does not throw every strike he knows, you save your force for the moment that matters. In 2025, the world will only grow louder. The pull of others will try to bend your focus, steal your attention. But silence is not weakness. It is the anchor that keeps you steady when everything else is moving. It is the ground beneath your feet when the winds of distraction blow strongest. There is a discipline older than the walls of any temple, the art of stepping back, not from life itself, but from the constant stream of thoughts and emotions that fill the mind. A student of Chen learns this early. Before you can master the world outside, you must see clearly the one within. When you sit in silence, the noise of the mind does not vanish at once. At first, it may even grow louder. Thoughts race, memories surface, old frustrations knock at the door. The untrained mind will follow each of them, pulled like a leaf in the wind. But the trained mind watches. It does not chase. It sees the thought, feels the emotion, notices the urge, and lets it pass like clouds drifting across an open sky. This way of observing is not cold detachment. It is an act of deep respect for your own nature. You begin to see that not every impulse is truth, not every feeling requires action. In this space, choice returns to you. You can respond rather than react. You can act with precision rather than habit. Ancient teachers spoke of the mirror mind, clear, reflective, unclouded. When the mirror is still, it reflects all things as they are. But when disturbed, it distorts. The daily practice of observation polishes that mirror. Each moment of awareness clears a little more of the dust. Over time, patterns that once ruled your life, anger that flared too quickly, distractions that stole hours begin to loosen their grip. The discipline to watch without being pulled in is the root from which self-mastery grows. In the quiet, you learn the greatest power, the ability to see clearly before you move. In the old training halls, there was a saying, "A single careless word can exhaust a day's worth of strength." At first it seems exaggerated, How could speaking or reacting drain the body? But with time the truth reveals itself. Every word you speak carries a part of your energy. Every reaction you give, especially in anger or haste, opens a channel through which that energy flows out. One small argument, one needless explanation, one sharp reply, each takes something from the reserve you need to live with clarity and purpose. Silence, when chosen with awareness, is a way of keeping this reserve full. It is not a refusal to engage with the world, but a conscious decision to engage only when it matters. Just as a warrior does not draw the sword for every passing shadow, you do not give your energy to every passing noise. In our time, the world demands constant response, notifications, opinions, debates, distractions. It is easy to be emptied before the day has even begun. That is why in 2025, the ability to preserve your vibrancy is more than wisdom. It is survival. Those who can hold their energy, protect it, and direct it with intention will stand apart in a restless age. Ancient practitioners understood this well. In the Shaolin tradition, energy is cultivated through breath, movement, and stillness. But just as important is the discipline of not letting it leak. This is why they valued measured speech, deliberate action, and the still gaze that watches more than it speaks. To keep your energy intact is to keep your power intact. It is to walk through the noise of the world like a deep river, quiet on the surface, but full of life beneath. The mind is like light. When scattered, it illuminates little. When focused, it can burn through stone. Most people allow their attention to be pulled outward, chasing one distraction after another. In the end, they feel drained, yet unsure where their energy went. To direct attention inward is to gather the scattered beams of the mind and bring them back to their source. It begins with pausing, closing the door on the noise outside. Even for a few moments, in that quiet, you can turn the gaze not toward screens or voices, but toward the movements of your own thoughts, the rhythm of your breath, the sensations within your body. In ancient traditions, this was the heart of all training. A warrior could master 1,000 techniques, but without control of focus, they were like arrows loosed without aim. A monk could recite the sutras endlessly, but if the mind wandered, the words became empty sound. Focus was the thread that held every skill, every insight, together. This discipline is not easy. The moment you try to hold your attention, the mind will rebel, thinking of what to eat, remembering a conversation, drifting toward tomorrow's tasks. But each time you bring it back, you strengthen it, like returning a horse to the path until it learns to walk straight. When the gaze turns inward consistently, something changes. Decisions become clearer, impulses lose their grip. The endless push and pull of the outside world fades, and a deep steadiness takes its place. From this place, every action you take is rooted, deliberate, and alive with the strength of your undivided mind. Real strength does not arrive with a roar. It builds in silence, layer upon layer, through actions so small they are often invisible to others. The world celebrates sudden victories, but those who walk the path of self-mastery know it is the unseen work, repeated daily, that shapes the foundation. There is a story of a young monk who wished to achieve enlightenment quickly. He trained with intensity for weeks, pushing himself to exhaustion. But the master simply gave him the same simple tasks each day: sweep the courtyard, tend the garden, practice his form at dawn. Frustrated, the monk asked why he was not given something greater. The master replied, "If you cannot master what is small, how will you master what is great?" This is the nature of real power. It is not dependent on mood or excitement. It is showing up to your practice when the mind is restless, when the body feels heavy, when there is no audience to applaud you. Each time you honor the ritual, you strengthen not just skill but discipline, the ability to walk forward regardless of the weather within. Ancient traditions valued this constancy above talent. Talent can burn bright and fade. Discipline burns steadily and lights the path through the darkest stretches. Whether it is rising at the same hour, completing a form with care, or holding stillness in meditation, the act is less about the task and more about the self who is shaped by doing it. Over years, these small steps create something unshakable. While others are swayed by circumstance, you remain grounded, and that quiet, unwavering commitment, built away from the noise, is the kind of power that endures. Life moves between two currents, being and doing. One is the still lake, reflecting the sky without distortion. The other is the flowing river, carving its path through stone. Too much stillness, and you drift without direction. Too much movement, and you lose sight of where you are going. True mastery is found in holding both. Presence is the ground beneath your feet. It is the state of being fully here, not pulled into yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's demands. In presence, the mind is steady, the breath deep, the senses awake. From this stillness, you see clearly what needs to be done, and what can be left untouched. Purposeful action is the step you take after seeing clearly. It is movement born from understanding, not from restlessness. In the ancient schools, warriors did not train simply to move, they trained so that every movement had intention. A single strike, placed with precision, carried more power than 100 thrown in haste. Silence is what keeps presence alive. In silence, the mind has space to settle, to return to its center. Focus is what fuels purposeful action, ensuring that your energy is not wasted on what does not matter. When they work together, life gains a rhythm, moments of still awareness followed by decisive steps forward. This balance does not come by chance, it is cultivated. It is pausing before you act, and acting with full commitment once the moment is right. It is listening as deeply as you speak, resting as completely as you strive. In this harmony, you are neither lost in thought nor lost in motion. You are whole, moving through the world with both the depth of the lake and the strength of the river. In the quiet of the training hall, the body speaks a language older than words. Martial arts and Qigong do not need explanations. The lessons are carried in the breath, the stance, the flow from one movement to the next. Each posture is a mirror, showing the state of the mind that shapes it. When the body is tense, the movement becomes sharp and uneven. When the mind is scattered, the steps lose rhythm. But when breath, focus, and intent align, the movement becomes effortless, like wind bending through bamboo, strong yet yielding. This is why ancient masters said the fight is not with an opponent, but with the turbulence inside. In Qigong, each slow gesture draws attention inward. The arms sweep not just through air, but through layers of thought and feeling. The stillness between motions is as important as the motion itself, for it is in that stillness that the mind settles and the body listens. What emerges is a deep conversation between inner and outer worlds, one that requires no voice. Martial arts, though more dynamic, carry the same truth. The strike, the block, the step, each is born from the state of the heart. If there is fear, it shows. If there is anger, it disrupts the flow. But if there is clarity, every action finds its mark without force. These practices teach without lectures. They reveal impatience in rushed moves, pride in unnecessary flourishes, doubt in hesitant steps. To train is to see yourself clearly in the movements you create. Over time, the silence of practice becomes a guide, shaping not just the body, but the mind that commands it, until the unseen becomes as disciplined as the seen. There is a kind of silence that does more than calm the mind. It heals. In the stillness, without the noise of defending yourself or replaying old stories, you begin to see the past with softer eyes. The sharp edges of memory lose their bite. What once felt heavy begins to loosen its grip. Forgiveness is not always an instant choice. It grows in the space you give it. When you are silent, you stop feeding the old wounds with new arguments. You allow them to rest. In that rest, understanding has room to appear. You see that people act from their own pain, their own confusion, just as you have. This does not excuse harm, but it opens the door to release. Forgiving yourself follows the same path. In silence, you can look at mistakes without the constant echo of self-criticism. You notice the lessons hidden in the missteps. You see the ways they have shaped your discipline, your patience, your compassion. Slowly, the weight you have carried begins to lift. Ancient traditions understood this power. Monks would take vows of silence, not only to train focus, but to clear the heart. Without words, the mind turns inward, facing the truths it has avoided. The act of sitting with those truths, without judgment, without rushing, allows them to dissolve. When the past loosens its hold, the present becomes clearer. Decisions are no longer clouded by old fears. Relationships are met without the shadow of resentment. In that clarity, you can walk forward unburdened, meeting each moment as it is, rather than through the lens of what has been. This is the quiet freedom that forgiveness brings, born not from noise, but from the deep, steady silence within. In the old monasteries, training was not confined to the meditation hall or the practice yard. It lived in every moment, in every task, carrying water from the well, sweeping the stone paths, brewing tea for the morning meal. These were as much a part of the discipline as any martial form. When a task is approached with stillness, it becomes more than a chore. It becomes a mirror for the mind. The weight of the bucket, the sound of water shifting with each step, the warmth of the teapot in your hands. Each detail draws you deeper into the present. There is no rush, no wandering thought, only the rhythm of the act itself. This is where silent awakening begins, not in grand moments of revelation, but in the unbroken chain of small moments done with care. The act of pouring tea becomes an exercise in balance and attention. The brush of the broom across the courtyard becomes a lesson in flow and release. The body moves, yet the mind rests in the awareness of each motion. Ancient teachers understood that mastery is not separate from daily life. To move with presence in the simplest actions trains the same qualities needed in the most complex. Patience, precision, and calm attention are forged here. In time, the line between practice and life dissolves. The world often seeks meaning in the extraordinary, but the extraordinary hides in plain sight. The clear water in a wooden bucket, the rising steam from a clay cup, when met with full presence, carry the same depth as any formal meditation. Through them the ordinary becomes sacred, and each day offers countless doors to awakening, quietly waiting to be opened. Clarity does not come from chasing answers. It comes when the noise within has settled enough for the truth to show itself. Silence is that ground, a steady earth beneath the shifting winds of thought. In its presence, the mind stops grasping and begins to see. The masters of old knew this well. Before making a decision of consequence, they would retreat to stillness, not to escape, but to let the sediment of emotion and urgency sink. Like water in a jar, clarity appears when you stop stirring. In this state, you are no longer pulled by the chaos around you. Urgency loses its false authority. The voices of fear and impulse grow faint. What remains is a quiet knowing, not loud, not demanding, but certain. From here, every step is deliberate. Acting from calm is not the same as moving slowly. It is moving with precision, free from the distortions of agitation. In martial practice, a strike thrown in anger may miss its mark. A strike born from clarity lands exactly where it should. Life follows the same principle. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the space in which life can be understood. When you align with calm, your choices no longer come from reaction. They come from awareness. Even in the midst of noise, that inner ground remains unshaken. To live this way is to walk as the mountain does, rooted, unmovable, yet shaping the landscape around it. Silence becomes not a pause between actions, but the source from which the right action naturally arises. From this ground, wisdom is not sought, it appears, and you are ready to follow it. In the end, the path is not about retreating from life, but meeting it with steadiness. Silence becomes the shield that guards your energy. Self-focus becomes the compass that keeps you on your true course. Through observing your inner world, acting with discipline, aligning body and mind, and tending to your inner work, you shape a mastery that no noise can shake. Let each day hold moments of quiet, whether in still meditation, in a slow breath before speaking, or in the way you pour a cup of tea. In those moments, clarity will rise on its own, and your actions will carry the weight of purpose. Walk gently, speak with intention, and let silence be the canvas on which your life is painted. If these teachings have brought you value, support this journey, like this video, and subscribe to Shaolin Mind. Together we continue the practice of strength, balance, and presence.